Question E, it's our last one. Oh, isn't it sad? But you know what? Like you, I think maybe I'll just do one or two more, just because I can. Okay. So we're starting off with, whatever, just go and play guitar. We've got these are trig identities for reference. We've got our two trig identities and the two variations of the second one. You wrote those when you started question A, so they're there. Maybe you started question E on a new day. My recommendation still is, okay, write that at the beginning of the day when you're coming in fresh. Now this one, we've got our left-hand side we need to show is equal to our right-hand side. Which side are we going to work with, the left-hand side or the right-hand side? Maybe you're going, oh, well, I'll choose definitely the left-hand side. Let's go why. Guiding principle one was, if we saw tan on one side and not on the other, we're going to work with that side, because then it was easier to just use this first identity and change everything to sines and coses. Okay, both sides have got tans, so that one doesn't work. The other guiding principle is, this one looks more complicated, so it will probably be easier to simplify down to the right-hand side. It's easier to just keep simplifying than it is to try and make the thing more complicated. Okay, so let's look at our left-hand side. So left-hand side. Now we sit going, what do we do? What's the first thing? I mean, it's easy when somebody shows you, oh, do that, and then you go down that road. I mean, if in doubt, why don't we just multiply these two brackets? There's nothing that jumps out to simplify. Cos squared 2 cos squared theta minus 1. We could manipulate one of these and maybe do something, but it's probably going to make it more complicated, because changing cos squared to sine squared is hardly going to make this simpler. And 1 plus tan squared, there's a tan squared there, so let's not change the tan squared yet. That would be that is my thinking, that I can see I'm going to multiply to get a tan squared. So let's just multiply this bracket by that bracket, every term by every term. So hopefully you pause, give it a go, and then check how you do it. So I'm just going to do that in the background to go, well, 2 cos squared theta times 1 is 2 cos squared theta. Multiplying these is plus 2 cos squared theta tan squared theta. Minus 1 times 1, minus 1. Minus 1 times tan squared theta is minus tan squared theta. Now, I think it is useful to have the right-hand side in mind. Here's a minus tan squared theta, and we've got a minus tan squared theta. So we don't have to do anything with that. In the next line, we can still have a minus tan squared theta. But we are going to have to simplify all of this stuff on the left. Now let's start with 2 cos squared theta. Let's just leave that for now. 2 cos squared theta, and we've got a minus 1. And then change this tan squared theta into sine squared theta over cos squared theta. So we've got plus 2. Just change the order at the same time to go, just want to look at this part here and say 2 cos, well, what did we have? We said cos squared theta. Okay, cos squared theta is cos squared theta. Tan squared theta is sine squared theta over cos squared theta. In other words, these two are going to cancel out. And we're going to still have, so we've got, let's just check, 2 cos squared theta, that was that part. The minus 1 is there. This whole bit here is all of that. And then we still have to have this minus tan squared theta, which we know isn't going anywhere because that's what it is. So that was equal to that. Right. So we've got 2 cos squared theta, 2 cos squared theta. We've got our 2 sine squared theta plus 2 sine squared theta. That's that part. Minus 1 minus tan squared theta. Now, this was just simplifying. So far, all we did was use this trig identity, simplify, and rewrite it again. Now we start looking and saying, well, do any of these other trig identities hold? Well, what about sine squared theta plus cos squared theta equals 1? Sine squared theta plus cos squared theta. But instead of having one of them, we've got two of them. So if you want to, let me make this quite clear. This is the same as 2 cos squared theta plus sine squared theta. There are two of them. I'm going to remove that. I feel like it's made it more confusing. Let's just look at it. Forget factorizing just some of it. Let's just look at it. Sine squared theta plus cos squared theta is 1. So if you've got two of these, then it's 2. So you've got two of them, so that's 2. Minus 1 minus tan squared theta. Okay, so in other words, what we're saying is this part here, it's 2 of these, so that just replace it with 2. Sine squared theta plus cos squared theta times 2. So that became that. Okay, now from there, hopefully you're home free. 2 minus 1 is 1 minus tan squared theta, which is our right-hand side. So just to refresh, what got us there? We weren't sure what to do to start with. Well, maybe you're like, I knew what to do. Well, I wasn't sure, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to multiply out. I know that I've got 2 brackets I can multiply out. So I multiplied out. You might have chosen a different strategy. Then, once we had multiplied out, we saw a minus tan squared theta. We know that that's going to be there. So we're not going to change it into sine over cos because it's already part of that right-hand side. So let's not change it. Look, tan squared theta, tan squared theta, tan squared, tan squared, tan squared. We didn't change that part. But this tan squared theta, this one over here, this one we changed to sine squared theta over cos squared theta because we needed to simplify the rest of the expression. We did that and we ended up with this cos squared theta plus sine squared theta, which we've seen and keep seeing again and again, and replace that. So that is kind of our strategy.